In this segment, Stephanie Miller is joined by Glenn Kirschner. Together, the two catch us up on everything related to the Trump trials. Here's Stephanie.
So, Glenn, where do we start on where we are on the legal front? Because someone was saying that, we just played Molly saying every time they report, they should say, out on bail, 91 felony counts, adjudicated rapist and business fraud. It is almost, even though, as we say, we marinate in this every day, and you see the contrast now between last night and what Donald Trump is. What do you think is up next in terms of, on the justice front?
Yeah, so Steph, I think we're all over the place on the legal front. It depends on whether we're talking state, we're talking federal, we're talking civil, we're talking criminal. So let's start with the good news. First of all, Donald Trump is about to hit a financial wall. He does not have the money to cover all of the massive money judgments that have been entered against him. And I believe soon both Tish James and E. Jean Carroll's lawyers are going to begin seizing his assets, right? Which, that's been a long time coming for Donald Trump because he's always been a fraud on the financial front. So, and I found it interesting yesterday, the BBC reported that he also just lost the case over in the UK. He brought a case against Christopher Steele's company for the Steele dossier. And the judge over there said, no, actually, your case is, quote, bound to lose, which I thought would make a good working title for a Donald Trump biography, bound to lose. And even though this is a suit that he brought, Steph, he was ordered to pay all of the costs of his opponent's legal fees. So listen, this man is a world-class loser on the financial front. So he's going to crash and burn civilly. Now, criminally, it's a different story. The federal cases are all over the map. But the best news, I think, is the state court case in New York. That's his 2016 election interference, hush money, falsifying business records case is going to kick off in just over 2 weeks now. And Judge Merchan is not playing. It's in the chute. They're going to begin jury selection in just over 2 weeks. And the evidence is overwhelming of his guilt. That will be his first criminal conviction if everything remains on track.
And Glenn, you kind of referenced it, but what happens when you're saying, "Oh no, I got tons of money," and then you've got your lawyer going, "He doesn't have the money. Can we?" I mean, it's so pathetic. He's trying to go, "Oh, can you throw the case out? Can I not pay the whole thing?" It's just. I'm not even a lawyer, and I'm like, you can't do that, right? I mean, you said Trump lawyers
In one breath, Elena Haba tells judges he's worth $14 billion. In the next breath, she's got her hat in hand saying, please, please don't make him put up $800 or $80 million or $450 million because he can't afford it. Steph, if even one of his properties, just one, was worth a billion dollars, if it was unencumbered by tons and tons of debt, then he could just pledge that. And any insurer, any bondsman would jump at the chance to put up a bond because there would be a pot of money, assets to collect on at the end of the day. So Donald Trump, as I say, is about to hit a financial wall, and it's going to get really ugly for him.
Well, you said Trump lawyers embarrass themselves, saying Trump is worth $14 billion and has, quote, plenty of liquid assets to cover the massive money judgments against him, while simultaneously begging them to reduce the bond amount. When can we start seizing assets? I think of us as a we in the justice world.
Okay.
I don't know Robbie Kaplan.
Monday is one of the first deadlines because Judge Kaplan has just denied, I think for the second or third time, Trump's request to extend the due date. So on Monday, the $83 million plus interest will come due. And at that point, I predict Judge E. Jean Carroll's lawyers, Roberta Kaplan and the others, will begin to use the mechanisms available to start seizing his assets to satisfy that money judgment.
I like to think of you as the Dr. Ronnie of Justice of the Stephanie Miller Show because I need some more indictments. It's been a bit. You said Trump org convicted of 15-year-long criminal scheme to defraud. Trump's man Weisselberg convicted of the same, now convicted of lying for Trump, but there seems to be a criminal loose end here. Time for a fifth criminal indictment for Trump running his corrupt business, Trump org. Talk about that for a second.
Yeah, it's interesting that Trump's organization was being run as a criminal enterprise for 15 years, and they were criminally convicted. The Trump org of 17 felony counts. Of course, Weisselberg, who's now a frequent flyer as a felon, he was also convicted of that same 15-year-long criminal scheme to defraud as the chief financial officer of the Trump organization. How is it, Steph, that the man who really is ultimately responsible for all of this, Donald Trump, has yet to be held to account for those crimes? Now, I hope Alvin Bragg has another indictment in his back pocket that he's ready to drop on Donald Trump, because that is the one loose end that has not yet been tied up in the Trump organization criminal, endeavor.
Let's talk about our favorite friend, Judge Canon. Someone just tweeted the charging document. It said Trump versus the United States pretty much sums up his political career. I'm sure you saw the story yesterday that, because we always try to play fair, that, they're going to share intelligence briefings with him when he becomes the nominee. Claire McCaskill, former senator, says you don't, what he should say, Biden, is you don't get the intelligence briefing while you're under indictment for violating the secrets of this country. And if you don't like it, you can go pound sand. I mean, Glenn, I don't know if we're afraid like the MAGAs are going to scream and, oh, that's not fair. How can you share intelligence when someone is under indictment for that very thing?
You can't, and you shouldn't. I think the administration is making the best decisions it can make. But just as you don't give bank robbers the blueprint to the banks, you don't give Donald Trump the blueprint to giving away our national security information and secrets. I think that is a colossal mistake, because Donald Trump will use that as a basis to claim, you see, even the Biden administration has conceded, I am not a threat to national security because they're going to begin to read me in on intelligence briefings. That's a bad idea. The administration, not even for political advantage, not because it could impact his prosecutions, the Biden administration should make the decision, born of our national security interests. We will not give somebody who has so dramatically compromised our nation's security.
And is in massive debt.
Security briefings. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So I spazzed out a couple days ago. Judge Eileen Cannon entered a tiny paperless order into the docket in Trump's classified documents case, prompting several experts to warn that the judge may toss the entire case. In this case, because it's a long time to Friday, Joyce Vance and Renato Mariotti talked us down. I don't know if you agree. All Judge Cannon is saying is these briefs may be filed. They may, the may be of considerable help language comes from the relevant Supreme Court rule regarding amicus briefs, and these are the only two amicus briefs filed so far. This is the correct take, and Joyce said stand down. Renato said don't overreact. It's hard not to overreact to Judge Cannon. She's so clearly in the bag for Donald Trump.
It is. And so first of all, I always credit Joyce Vance's analysis. If Joyce tells me my middle name is not Lewis, I pull out my driver's license and double check, okay? Because she's the authority on everything as far as I'm concerned. And she's absolutely right. That is the language of, I believe, the Supreme Court rule when it comes to accepting amicus briefs. Here's the thing, Steph. You don't have to put that language in a minute order, because I think people will have the reaction that we had. It's like, wait a minute. So you're saying that this might persuade you to dismiss Donald Trump's case? She didn't need to put it in the minute order, even though it's accepted language, but she chose to. Why did she choose to? Listen, everything she does seems to be sending signals that she's there to help Trump. But Steph, here's what I'll say. I almost hope she grants a motion to dismiss the case. Why? Because that would give Jack Smith exactly what he needs to file an appeal with the 11th Circuit, one, to overturn the ruling to dismiss the case, and two, to move to recuse or remove her from the case. So I hope she pushes the envelope just that far to the benefit of Donald Trump. I really do.
Glenn, I like my justice happy clappy. I think, I'm not sure. I think Chuck Rosenberg may have been the only one I saw, but I think Jen Rubin also wrote a piece that I'm still hopeful it's possible the J6 trial could go to trial before. Obviously had a lot of thoughts on the Supreme Court. I mean, first of all, what did you make of Joe Biden going right at them to their face? I mean,
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. He said what we're all thinking. You all, some of you sitting decisions, shame on you. You know what? The only thing you got right in that opinion is that women have the power to vote and to correct this, you know what, that you pulled on the American people. I love would revoke our constitutional rights. And so I want to see more of that, Joe Biden.
And the J6, right to their face about January 6th, and I think it said everything that a lot of them just looked down. They're just, ashamed as they should be. But you basically said Supreme Court cleared the way for insurrectionists to seek and hold federal office. As a result, there's no present impediment to an insurrectionist holding federal office. The disqualification clause has been extinguished, just like women's constitutional privacy rights. And you said Supreme Court states they can't disqualify educated insurrectionist Trump from the ballot, but the Supreme Court said Congress can. So they put the disqualification issue in the capable hands of MAGA Mike Johnson, Jim Jordan, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Matt Gaetz. I think you made the same joke on Twitter that I made. It's like putting the bank robbers in charge. It's just absurd, this Supreme Court ruling.
It is absurd. They extinguished our present ability to disqualify insurrectionists from serving in our federal government, from holding federal office. And they didn't have to, as the dissenters, that really wasn't a concurrence, as the dissenting justices pointed out, they didn't have to, and they shouldn't have. All they should have done was saw the legal wood in front of them. They could hold that, listen, the way Colorado went about it, we don't believe is constitutional, but there are other avenues out there to stop avowed insurrectionists, adjudicated insurrectionists from serving in our federal government, but they opted to extinguish the disqualification clause unless and until Congress comes up with some new complicated statutory scheme. That is absurd, because what they did is they wrote out of the Constitution our ability to stop insurrectionists from trying to kill us from within in the future. They didn't have to. And I think, all of this, Steph, all of this should drive us to the polls in November.
Insurrectionists,
too big to rig and too real to steal.
That's right. Insurrectionists that ask for pardons from Trump. It is just beyond absurd. Glenn, so what is your prediction on immunity ruling from the Supreme Court? When and what? And, don't you think with all of this delay that Trump has already achieved, Judge Canon would be justified in going forward before the election? What do you think?
I think Judge Chutkan, I hope, goes forward before the election. So here's the thing. It's impossible, I think, for any of us to conceive of a Supreme Court saying a president is king and can't be prosecuted for crimes he commits against the American people while in office. So I'm still holding fast to that. I don't think they'll issue their opinion until the dead end of the term, probably June 30th. But at that point, it will go back to Judge Chutkan. And I only hope, Steph, this is the dark lining. And, I like to end with, the dark cloud. I like to end with the silver lining. I only hope that Judge Canon doesn't put a September 1st trial date in place in Florida as a blocker to Judge Chutkan, because once she gets the case back, she's going to have about 60 days. She can still get it tried before the November election, but it's going to take a lot of puzzle pieces falling into place.
All right. Well, fingers crossed.